Can I have two claps, guard, please? Woo! Conductor, please. Woo! Tuck in the clap. Let's go.
I'm Dante, and this is Dante Dakara, and welcome back to the channel. I'm an expat teacher vet based out of Tokyo, Japan. Today's vlog is going to be a teacher vlog. So if you're here for the teaching, or you're here wanting to know what Japanese students learn, then you're in the perfect place to be. I'll come back next week with another daily diary. I've been doing those off and on. I think that's going to be more of a regular thing. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and if you like this or you have any questions at the end, comment. Please let me know what you think about this video. So today we're going to be talking about levels, and when I say levels, I mean what level of English do my students know. Now I'm going to do this based on the end of school as opposed to the beginning, and the reason why I'm going to do this for the end is because I'm a junior high school teacher, and when students come into the first year, there can be some level differences between students based on how their elementary school taught them English, and the priorities their elementary schools had. Now for my city, they've been learning English, or they've been exposed to English since first grade of elementary school, if they've gone to elementary school in the city. So I know, generally speaking, what they've been exposed to if they've been exposed for the last 6 years. So why I'm doing the end is because I know what the milestones are for junior high school, because I've been teaching junior high school for almost 5 years now. So we're going to go into it level by level, and if you want to skip, then you can do so down below in the chapters. I'm not going to get too in the weeds, but I am going to go through some of the basics and maybe give you an example of how I teach those things, but it's really going to be just kind of talk heavy, so sorry about that, guys. Alright, first year. Our first year students are having to learn most of the basics again. Now they're exposed to these basics in elementary school, but they don't really know them. So when I say the basics, I mean they're learning be verbs. So am, is, are. So they know what to associate what proper pronoun with the verbs. Now you're gonna find me hesitating a little bit because I've been using the Japanese for the verb tenses and things like that more than I've been using the English for it. So if you see me hesitate, it's because I'm trying to remember the English for the Japanese that I've been using. So they're learning the be verbs. They're also learning the questions for that. They're learning regular verbs, present tense of the regular verbs. So play, race, run, like, those kind of things. They're learning the present tense of those verbs, and that's at the very beginning of the year. There's also emphasis on phonics with the alphabet, but it's not as phonics heavy as a native speaker's English class is. And the reason for that is because there's not a big emphasis on reading like that. It's more like reading for meaning as opposed for reading for sound. And that's because it's really, can you speak English, not can you holistically understand English? And that's a topic for another day. This, that, and I have like my list of like things that we're looking through here. He is, she is, present tense questions, present tense negatives, plurals, imperatives like don't or let's. And then they're learning questions. They're learning all of the questions. So how many, what is, what time. They're learning how much, what do you, who is, where is, those kinds of things. Hows. The how is limited, like how do you feel, as opposed to how do you do this. That's going to be a need and say thing, or a second year thing. They're learning personal pronouns, and there has been much to do on this channel about like pronouns because of another YouTuber's response to one particular day and one particular lesson for one particular person. They blew that into an entire 8-video thing. So just so you know, the students do learn all pronouns. So they're learning the I's, so like, and they learn it in chants. So I, my, me, my, he, him, he, him, his. And then she, her, hers, its, they, theirs, like all of that. They're learning all of that, and they learn it kind of in a chant so they can remember it. Next, third person singular, so they're learning like how to speak to the santangen, the third person, and they're learning that santangen S. So what the santangen, like the third person S, is, we know that I play, he, she, right, plays. So the students are learning that, and they're getting used to hearing how that sounds. And it's really, really important that they understand and recognize when something sounds weird. And I'm really big on putting that out there, like, and making purposeful mistakes so that students can hear. And then I'm like, what did I say? Was what I said right? And then going from there. Let's see, they learn third person singular questions, third person negatives, which do you, A or B, and this one is a leveling thing, so which do you like, A or B, not which do you like more. This is more of a, I like this one or I like that one. We talk about comparatives in the second year. And then they learn, the last thing that they learn, the last two major points that they learn is can and past tense verbs. So the reason why those two things are last is because can is an introduction to jodoshi, which they're companion verbs. So like I can plus the doshi no genke, the present tense verb. So I can play basketball, I can eat natto. And then like that small introduction is going to be the rule that allows them to go into Ninensei, the second year, and be successful with the other companion verbs that they learned then. And then of course, past tense, which past tense is really just focusing on the irregulars, because the regular ones they generally speaking can memorize. The irregular ones are the ones that they have to just know what those irregular ones are. And once they know the rules for irregular verbs, it becomes easy to teach other irregulars, or rather once they know the rules for irregular plural tenses, like they start to understand what the irregular verb rules are for past tense as well, because some of those rules carry over. And I'm really big on having them understand the logic behind the rules. And the reason for that is, if they can understand the logic behind it, it's easier just to accept and understand what things are when they don't necessarily know the meaning of it. Like, you don't need to know the meaning of a word to be able to understand whether or not this word is spelled correctly, or if this particular word is in the right tense, or something to that effect. Like, they can say, hey, that word, I don't understand what that word is, but I know it's spelled wrong. Like, so this is really important on the test. And then lastly, the very last thing they learn is why and because, which they already know because, but this is formally explaining how because fits in a sentence. And their first year, they're allowed to use because as the beginning of a sentence. So that's the end of first year. They know all of that going to the second year. Supposed to know all of that. If I were to give a percentage of students that know all of that and are good with all of that, spoken, then I would say maybe 65% of students would know all of that spoken. Written, like not them writing it, but reading it, I would say I would put that more upwards of 70-75%. Writing it, I would take that back down to like the 60%. Okay, so going into the second year, so we're in chapter 2 now, chapter 3 of this video. Second year is a lot shorter of a list, but it's more complicated. So now they're going into the past tense of bidoshi, the be verbs. So was, were, and they understand the rules for that based on what the rules were for singular. So if they know that am is, so I am, he, she is always was, then they also know that are becomes, that's right, were. So knowing those rules again allows them to just go with it. And I've noticed that as I've done this more and more and longer, that the students are being able to get it easier and easier because I know how to explain the rules much better than I used to. Next, after that, was the negatives of was, were. Past continuous. So this is be plus ing. So continuous tense. I'm explaining this to people who understand English already, but explaining continuous tense is the same way that I explain companion verbs. So they already know can, so they know that two verbs can be next to each other. Like, it just changes how we interact with them. So again, they're learning all these rules, and then they understand how to use them in a practical sense, both spoken and written. Next, future. So be going to. The first future thing they learn is be going to. They learn be going to first because bidoshi, the be verb, is what they know. It's their bread and butter. It's the first thing they're introduced as far as formal grammar points. So because of that, we teach them be going to first, and then we teach them the easier form of will. So they learn that as a question form. They learn that as a negative form as well. Then they learn may I's and could you. And that's a form, it's a talking lesson, it's a really talk heavy lesson where they're learning how to ask for a favor or request things in a polite way. The next thing is that they learn are have to and don't have to, which is a very difficult lesson in the sense that we teach them have to, don't have to, must not. And it's easy to explain that have to is the same as must, but many students mix up don't have to and must not. And it's getting better now because I've done a good job of separating those two things and drilling that into their head that do not confuse must not and don't have to. I usually say that must not is a rule, whereas don't have to is a choice. And then that makes it easier for them. The next thing that they learn is, I told you will already, they learn that. So they learn that in conjunction with I think. So I think that Thai is crazy. I think that English is boring. So the way I explain that is that that is a marker for where another sentence begins. When I say that, I mean, they know that everything after that has to follow the rules of making a sentence. There must be a main character, there must be a verb, and there must be more information at the end. So, I think that, and then he is cool. So those things, like, they understand, and then they put all those rules together, and they're like, okay, if I see that, then I need to make sure that this, and this are here. And they know, like, the variations of that as well. The next thing they learn is if. So if you are interested, comma, blah, 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 blah. And they learn the use of commas in that form. They learn when. So nantoka toki ni, when I play baseball, comma, I always use my glove. So they also learn time relative. We go over because, using because at the beginning of a sentence. So because he is crazy, comma, I like his class. Before we told them that using because and then ending that with a period is really bad. Like, or rather, we told them that was okay, and now I teach them that it's bad. So from this point on, they know that the reason, if you put the reason first, then you must follow it up with the comma and the initial action, or the initial information. So reason, comma, information, or information because, and then the reason. So they automatically know that how these things are put together. Next, they learn gerund form. So like I enjoy, and then ing. They learn SVC. SVC is like you look happy. So this is just a review for them, but like these things of look, seem, smells, like this this observational verbs, like are something that I really enjoy teaching them because you can have a lot of fun with it. Next is adding a second character to a sentence. So the way I explain sentences are main character, verb, information. I play baseball. Now, when you add in that second character, we need to understand how that second character interacts with the verb. So now, it's something to the effect of, I gave her a ball. So the second character is the ni, like, which in Japanese is nantoka ni doshi. So in this particular case, they're understanding how to interact with that second character. Next, they learn comparatives, ER, EST. More, most, best, least. And then the last thing that they learn is as, and shall I, which I always make fun of them whenever they say shall, because shall is not something that we usually use in English. We typically use shall in a either sarcastic situation, or we use it in a situation where it's really old English. Shall I have this? Like, we don't use shall like that. So like, I usually have a lot of fun with that because it's really crazy English. The last thing, and we're going into chapter 4 now, which is the Sanensei, and this is where the most difficult grammar that they'll learn is right here. Because in high school, or some of this stuff used to be in high school, they moved it down because they know that students are getting more exposed to English, so now they have a greater level of understanding, so they can take on more, supposedly. So they learn the passive by, which this turns the entire sentence structure on its head. Students are used to having active sentences, but now we're talking about passive sentences. So she writes books. No, the book is written by her. Now this brings up a tense of verb that they're not used to seeing. And that tense in Japanese is, where is it? Kakabunshi. There it is. So kakabunshi is the en, the past participle verbs. So they learn those. They're learning make. So not the make as in I make cakes, but she makes me happy. So this is something that's caused by someone else. They're learning that. They learn would you like. So again, they're learning a polite way of offering. They're learning present perfect continuous. So she has been playing baseball for, or she has lived, playing Janai. She has played baseball for 10 years. So this tense is a little bit difficult, but if they've got a firm grasp on companion verbs, they're good here. Past perfect tense, she has visited. Past completion, he had done something. So this, or I have just finished, or he has done this. So all of these are extremely difficult if they did not have a firm grasp on can back in the end of their first year. The next couple of things they learn is infinitive adverbal usage, which is I am surprised that, I am happy that, I am upset that, and then giving the reason without using because. They learn how to, as in doyate, how to do something. I know how to protect myself, something like that. It is blank for a to blank. So giving the condition or the adverb, giving the keyoshi, the adjective for a particular topic. So it is easy for me to speak English. It is easy for her to speak Japanese. So they're learning that it is adjective for this person to verb. Next, they learn want to. So they learn want to in a third person sense, adding a verb. So Tom wants to tell her how to do this. I want to tell you to subscribe to my channel. That kind of thing. Subscribe. All right, next. Present participle and past participle. So this is the boy playing the guitar is my brother. So this particular one, is easy to explain because, we separate it into two sentences and then put the sentences together. So that boy is playing the guitar. That boy is my brother. I want this into one sentence. So that boy who is playing the guitar, which they learned that, is my brother. And then I tell them, you don't need the who. Okay, that boy playing the guitar is my brother. They know that that boy playing the guitar is the main character, and then the verb, and then the information. So it goes back to that initial way that I taught them. Main character, doshi, more information. Doshi is verb. All right, next is indirect questions. Indirect questions. So this is saying what you don't know. I don't know why you haven't subscribed yet, but you might probably should. Again, like, I'm being cheeky here, but the grammar point is exactly what it is. I don't know why this is happening. I don't know what we are going to do. I don't know where this is. I don't know what time we're going to meet. Indirectly, they're saying these questions, and then they practice giving an answer to those questions. So if I say, I don't know what time lunch is, which never supposed to end question like that. I don't know what time is lunch. Then they know to say, oh, lunch is at this time. So a lot of conversation practice as far as that's concerned. Next is so that. And when I talk about so that, we're talking about to the level of, or how much something is. Like, it was so sweet that I had to drink some water. So robots are so efficient that, and this is a part of their textbook, so I don't want to plagiarize by saying their sentences. But this is something that they learn as far as conditioning and comparison. If they had a firm grasp of comparisons in their second year, then they're pretty good with their third year. And then we have our last couple of things. So two. It's too hot to play baseball outside. So two, T-O-O, plus two, T-O. Like, so they understand excess. So this excess, if they understand comparisons, then they understand this. The omission of relative pronouns. So the omission of relative pronouns is remember when I said the boy who is playing baseball is my brother? Well, this is where they learn to take that out. Now, some teachers teach it in different orders. I, generally speaking, teach these two things in the same place. Why? Because it makes no sense to me to wait like 2-3 chapters later to explain something that's together. So if students learn one rule, then they learn how to use it without it at the same time. And then I say either is okay. Just make sure that if you're going to use that relative pronoun, relative pronouns are not the relative pronoun, that you make sure it's the right one. He is the boy, or the boy who is playing the guitar. Don't say the boy where is playing the guitar. They know, okay, who means it's a person, or a person means it's who, a place means it's where, a time means it's when. They know these things because of constant practice and conversation practice and explaining the rules. So they know who, which, that, and they know the nominative case of which, that. Like, so that is the cake which has chocolate in it. So sorry, trying to think of that. And then the objective case is like something that has to do with me. Like, so for example, that is the cake which I ate yesterday. That I ate yesterday. They know that either is okay. All right, so that takes us to the end of their third grade year. Now, I didn't say the percentage of students that know the second year. I forgot to say that. The percentage of second year students that know the second year stuff is the same. The real fall off is third year. Third year, you have like the most level differences, and that's because if they're going to cram school, and most likely they are, cram school is an after school study school. Most of the focus is going to be on entrance exam verbs, entrance exam grammar, entrance exam tests and questions. If so, then they're going to have a firmer grasp on these words, on this grammar points in their third year. If they didn't go, then it's going to depend on the student. So we're going to have the widest disparity in between the best English speaking / English student and the quote unquote worst English student. And this is natural. It's going to happen because some students are just naturally more interested in English than other students. And some students have a firmer grasp of language and linguistics than other students. And this is normal. It shouldn't upset a teacher that some students are just better at some things than other students because their interests are different. I don't care at all that some students don't like English. Like, as long as I'm making English as accessible as I can, and the reason why they don't like English isn't because I've made it negative and a negative experience for them. First and foremost, I want to teach them, but I want to teach them in a way that makes them happy to be there. So all that said and done, of course I want them to know everything. But more importantly, I want them to understand that doing difficult things doesn't mean it has to be unfun. You can do difficult things and have fun. You can succeed and have fun. You can fail sometimes and have fun. But the key is to try. And if students are trying, I'm good to go. That, to me, is me being successful as a teacher. And we'll talk about success another time. Anyway, if you have any questions about what students learn or how do I teach them, or maybe you're a teacher and you want to collaborate on some lesson plans and things like that, let me know. I'm an improv teacher. Generally speaking, I have a plan when I walk in the room, and then I throw it up in the air depending on the students' moods. So I'm really big on being able to do things on the fly. I have a plan, but sometimes it works. Sometimes I just scrap it as soon as I see the students' moods. But I'm definitely willing to help and collaborate with any teacher that's out there that needs something or wants something or just has a question. Let me know. I'm Dante. This is Dante Dakada. Until next time, later.